Yep. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. Very warm welcome to our Singapore Salesforce Marketers Group. A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm sure that a lot of people are joining from different states altogether. I'm really happy that we've been kickstarting our Salesforce community this year. It's been quite a number of months that we've not been done any events on this group, so it's been a bit busy with the postal things and everything. But I think going forward, we've been buzzing and we're doing a lot of things on this community. But this month we have two events. The first one, which is on unlocking email deliverability. I'm sure everyone is master while setting up the SAP, which is our center authentication domains for your own marketing cloud dogs, or for your customers, or for your partners, or whatnot. And we can understand the importance of SAP. Without this, I'm pretty sure that none of the customers will like us. Everyone wants their own branding. Everyone wants their best deliverability. So keeping things all in mind, I'm sure that this is one of the one of the most important thing to onboard the marketing cloud for every customer or any partner or the users, right? So without any delay, we can kickstart with an agenda, and we'll start with an introduction, and then we could learn about what is SAP. I'm sure that you're all masters in SAP. I'm pretty sure that you've been done a lot of things in your current customers and the partners. But we'll just groom again what is SAP and what it does exactly. What are the nuances and the elements that has been captured inside the SAP, and we'll understand what is the current SAP provisioning process, past versus the new. Okay, so because uh, I'm one of the person who have been done a lot of SAP setup in my past, and then I've been struggle a bit while get in touch with the network team and then get in touch with the support team and make them align on a couple of things on DNS entries and all the stuff that we can talk about it. And then we can see what is the current process that makes everyone feel happy. If you're asking me, I think 1 day is maximum that I could set up the SAP and then up and running for any marketing cloud business unit. And if any questions and answers, a Q&A, which we can talk about later. And meanwhile, if anyone has any questions or anything that you wish to ask in between the session, you can just post your question to chat group. And whenever I have a time, I can come and help you out to answer those questions. Right? So before that, I think we wanted to understand a bit about our community. So I'll just explain. We have our Salesforce community. So this is our community where let's go through once. Singapore Salesforce marketers. So as a marketers community, it's one of our most active community, one of the most active community in Singapore. The marketers come group, where we're going to talk about the B2B marketing and B2C marketing kind of things, and eventually we're going to talk about some of the special things. The agent force is one thing that we would like to do as a series in the coming months. We have an upcoming event that anyone wish to join this community can just go and then join this trailblazer community. That I could post this link in the chat section as well. So I'll just post this. Yep. If you have not yet signed up, they can come and then join this community. So we have some great events which has been lined up. Today is one of the event for SAP. And on 20th of March, we have one more session, which is really good. Spring 25 is one of the best release what I've seen, especially in terms of the new AI series, which has been coming into it. And then there are quite a couple of configurations and easy things that has been done with the product team that we can talk about it. And we have done some pretty past events, which is some well-architected workshops on Marketing Cloud and some Marketing Cloud highlights and Data Cloud stuff. So we are very good at Data Cloud sessions. And now we are targeting to Agent Force, which talks about different Agent Force series implementations for admin, dev, and architect and API integrations. That I'll talk about in detail in the later point. So I'm the one who was managing this community group in Singapore. That I'll give my introduction later. Yeah, I'll go back to the presentation, and so this is our high-level agenda today. And I'm sure that we could learn something, and I'm also learning. So I learn from you, so that you could learn from everyone as well. Yeah. So a quick introduction on my side. So myself, Fanindra, and you can call me Funny. I'm a MVP, Salesforce MVP 2 times, and then I'm a 3-time Salesforce marketing champion. And I manage these marketers and Slack in Singapore as a community group leader. and I work with Valley Hub, so the Salesforce Summit partner. And you can follow me on LinkedIn with Fanindra Argichata, and then you can follow me on Twitter, which is X now. So that's all my introduction, and we could just jump into our session. So today we could talk about the new provisioning process of SAP. That is the simplest thing that I could talk about. I don't want to go and then talk about too many things, but we'll understand and regroup again our skills on setting up the SAP and the private domain onboardings. Uh, I'm sure I wanted to understand a bit about this group. In your current projects or in your current experience, right? How many of them set up SAP from end to end? Can you just raise your hand so that I'll understand a bit, and then I could give some. I have some strong confidence that some of them already done something. So I'll just take a look. Anyone? How many of them done SAP procurement? Just give you a thumbs up. Yeah. I just mentioned here. Yes, and you can just give me thumbs up for my comment. How many of you set up the SAP process? So I'll just check anyone. None of them. Okay. Okay, I got some. Yeah, I think 2 people have done. Antar also done, and yeah, I think pretty much I see some good participants have done. A pretty solid SAP setup, but wanted to understand a bit about what are the some of the challenges that you've been faced. So, ah, awesome match. So, what are some of the challenges which you faced while doing SAP setup for Marketing Cloud? You could just post some comments there. We can see. Yeah. What is the most challenging thing which you can see is a challenging managing or communicating with the internal IT team, or talking to SF's team, or a problem while filling the SAP form? Okay, no problem. I think I'll just go through a couple of details. Then we'll regroom again our skills. So fundamentally, the SAP stands for a Sender Authentication Package. It is just a collection of tool. Actually, if you ask me, that's what I mentioned in the left hand side. It is just a kind of a different tools altogether that can help you to set up your complete domain, which makes your best campaign deliverability, because you're gonna design or build a campaign for every campaign for your marketing team. So without SAP, it doesn't help you out to be in the part of the game for sending a deliverability of the emails. So there's a broad picture, there's a broad element, a one-liner statement that I could come up with, a kind of a broader collection of tools. And what are the SAPs include, especially Center Authentication Package includes? So the number one would be a private domain, which is most important thing that you could procure a domain, because that is most important from every company, because every company has their own branding, has their own setup, and they don't want to push in their emails. They don't want to, they don't want to recognize for the customers or any other partners or the members. They want to their own private domain. And the next one is account branding, the one which I mentioned previously. Everyone want to recognize their brand. Let's take an example. So we use a KitKat. So KitKat starts with Nestle. They have their own company called Nestle Mondelez Corporation. So they have different brands, right? So at the same thing for banking. So if anyone comes with banking of Citibank, so they start with citibank.com.sg, citibank.com.eu. So they have their domain citibank.com. That's what their brand. So we wanted to understand when the email come from a different parties, we wanted to quickly check the from address, where this domain came from, where this email came from. So ideally it is from Citibank or any other DBS, or that's called branding. That gives you, SAP will give you that kind of a flavor. One private domain that comes with an account branding and a dedicated IP. So the people talks about a lot of noise where why we need dedicated IP, why we can't use a shared IP from other from other parties. We can talk about depth of why we cannot go with shared, why we can go with dedicated, and the RMM. So RMM comes with reply mail management. So you really don't want someone to reply on behalf of you while sitting in the computer. The RMM will take care of sending to a group of people, a kind of a public group which you can set up in your network, set up in your security groups, and then the emails goes to that RMM domain. So these all four elements, which is a part of your SAP, which makes you a significant campaign deliverability rates, which gives you more conversion rates and all this stuff. So these are the fundamentals which you deliberately ask me about. Okay, these are the SAP things that you could primarily need to understand. So what exactly it includes, because you also need to understand what exactly the private domain. So it is a kind of a kind of, I can say that it's my identity. Okay, it's a kind of an identity that every company to send email from an authenticated domain, and that shows a brand to your cloud pages, to your URLs or whatnot. So that's what we're calling as a private domain. So that's a brand. And when it comes to the account branding, where this will help you out for each and every clickable activity, like a link or an image, or you're going to wrap that link with a generic reference, all will be goes with an account branding. So if you fundamentally look at your marketing cloud org, so your marketing cloud org comes with the basic domain that given by Salesforce, which starts with your instance.marketingcloud.com. And when you send an email to that domain, no one knows it who's the person sent this email. So we thought that, how you could show your branding, and you people always goes and says that they can delete the emails most of the times, and they don't recognize who are you and where this email came from. That's what account branding is most important for you to manage your links, images, or any other wrapping things. So that's most important. The other thing, dedicated IP. So IP is one of the backbone of your entire sender reputation. Without this, you can't able to. Your IP is the main hardcore of sending an emails out of the marketing cloud. So it should be more repeated in terms of you need to warm the IP, and you need to have a dedicated IP to assign to the unique IP address to marketing cloud org, which can leverage for sending emails from that account, which is your primary address. That's really important for a dedicated IP for every marketing cloud business unit or a primary business unit. I request everyone to set up the dedicated IP rather than shared IP. I'll tell you the difference between those in the next slides. And RMM is something which you could send an automatic manage kind of a messages replies from recipients that do not require any manual handling. That automatically the email goes to a certain inbox from that pool where people can go and then check it out and then reply. A kind of a CS team, like customer service teams. So essentially, these are some of the elements that SAP does, and it includes. And let's go back and then see if anyone has any questions before I could turn on to the next thing. All right, yeah. Never said from scratch, but yeah, where is the domain hosted to guide the way to put the NS and this? Yeah, sure, we can guide all the stuff. So let's go to the next thing. So this is what the team is really looking forward for. What is the current SAP provisioning process? Okay. So if you really understand a bit about, there are 4 steps essentially that you could ask me that I'll follow with. So number one is you should ask customer. Number one, you should ask customer, hey, by which domain you decided that you want to go ahead to send an emails from Marketing Cloud. Nothing but the domain which you're asking is a from address, right? The from address, which is the domain you want a from address, especially saying that funny at valuehub.com. So valuehub.com is the domain that you need to set up. So I wanted to go with valuehub.com is my domain where I wanted to set up for all my email communications, which is my from address. So there are 2 kind of an aspects. Whether you wanted to use a new domain that should be created from the from one of your domains, or you wanted to use the existing domain. Let's take an example of this. So I'll just draw a diagram that makes you more simplistic way. So there are 2 aspects. One, I could procure a new domain. 2, I have a system. Consider there are options where I have a system. So initially, I'm a marketing cloud heavy user. I use MRSS. I use similar other platform RCS or Oracle responses, or I use my Braze, or I use my digital dot. So there are outside there are a lot of other marketing cloud tools. And prior, one of my customer is already using these one of the tool. Okay, and this customer is already using it. This domain called customer.com, demo.com. So this customer using this domain for all one of his marketing channel to sending an email to the customer. So he started leveraging a marketing tool of any of these four, any of them from 2023. And he used demo.com as a domain for sending emails from any of these marketing cloud channels. So approximately this person using heavily, and then the domain that when he procured during this marketing cloud org provision. So around like demo.com, he using almost like the IP score, the IP score almost like I can say that it is good, like more than 80%, because he sent thousands and thousands of emails from this domain demo.com. So consider that you're a very new customer, that you haven't used marketing cloud. You're always with the Excel sheets, or you're always with sending WhatsApp messages or anything as such. And now you're a customer. So you're a new customer. You haven't used any marketing cloud tools. So I have not used any marketing tools before. So number one, what you can do is, this is one step where you can ask customer that which domain you would like to go with. So he'll gonna says that I have a domain which is really good at IP score. Or is it? I think we can ask the domain called, maybe we can ask them demo.com, because he already used in some other ways. And what essentially marketing cloud, what we do is we can take this domain. First, we'll identify this domain, number one. This is the first process where demo.com has been identified. Demo.com has been identified, and we are done with the first step. The step number one, we identify demo.com. Let's take an example. The customer has never used any one of the marketing cloud tool. So this is the first time the person has been procured a domain from any domain management tool. Maybe he went to any domain called Big Rock or any other panels where he purchased a new domain. I brought a new domain altogether. So my domain is domain1.com. So this is a new domain, and this is already an existing domain. So customer already decided, I want to go with the new domain, where this domain has not been used by any other marketing cloud channels. Okay, so this is the first process where you have to go and then think through a process whether the customer has any existing domain has a good IP score. This has a good IP score, right? This has a good IP score, but this is a new domain altogether, no IP score till date, right? So you have to put all this thing into your mind and together. So the step number one, which is talking about, is this one. So the customer needs to decide the domain or the subdomain to understand whether he wanted to go with a new domain or repurpose the existing domain for SAP. So here, this is the first step that you should do it. Should ask them, do you have a fresh domain, or do you have an existing domain that are not using by any one of your existing marketing tools? Number one. Number two, we need to understand, once the domain has been confirmed, we have to go and then perform the DNS entries check, which is called, we're calling as a zone file. And we need to give this zone file to one of the IT team inside the company administration. We're calling as a company security teams. So step number one. So now you have done this. Okay. So consider this entire process. Maybe I'll take when I sent an email to the customer first time, so it'll take almost like a week or 2 weeks to decide the domain. If they're very knowledgeable, maybe they'll take a maximum week to come back to perform checks and everything. Consider this on an average 1 week time it'll take to complete the step number one, to identify and analyze the domain that what they wanted. Number two, once you decide the domain, now I can go and then I'll ask the respective network admin to perform a DNS entries. So we're calling it a zone file. We'll hand over the zone file to the company network admin team. The zone file is consist of, I can just explain. So this is why it works. You have to perform a kind of an activity. So I can calling as this calling as a zone file. So but typically the network or security admin will get to know the respective DNS entries and everything. What you can do is you can just simply ask them to pass this DNS settings to their existing domain, to their existing domain engagement. Either they have to, if you're procuring subdomain or a private domain, you have to give these four entries called our marketing cloud DNS services to the customer, and we'll ask them to appropriate. So this is what the DNS service configuration is. You have to put the TTLs, which you can take care using Unix or Linux, and then these MX entries, we're calling as these entries where they're going to enter into it. RNS 1, 2, 3, 4. This calling as our delegated entries. You perform this step. You let the network administrator to procure these domains, and then ask them to configure here. So you hand over this file, hand over these DNS entries to the security admin, where he will configure. So this is the step number 2. So this is a simple step, you have to do it. So once the DNS entries have been configured, you need to verify. The verification is the most important thing, that from here to here it'll take a week, or maximum a week time, or if it's a good administrator, maximum will do it in a day. On an average, you can say that a maximum of 3 days with our experience. So once you've done this step, so the third step would be, you need to validate whether the entries we given from the marketing cloud side, which has been activated, and it has been ready to, the domain is engaging marketing cloud servers or not. So the next step is to raise with the Salesforce. You need to raise a case with Salesforce support to configure the SAP, which is nothing but, once you raise a case with Salesforce support, they'll ask you to fill a SAP form. So that SAP form, they'll give you on a separate domain link or something, and you need to go to that form, and then you need to submit the form, which include the respective, what is your domain name, and whether you configure the DNS entries or not. They'll ask some questions, or simple questions, where you have to go and then add the questions. Whenever in the SAP form, let me check if we have SAP form in online marketing cloud. SAP form. I'm sure we do have somewhere. Yeah, but currently it's not showing at all. But I think when you raise a case with Salesforce support, they'll give you a link. When you click on a link, it'll take you the form. Once you enter your domain, it automatically detect whether the domains have been activated or not, based on the DNS provisioning or not, based on the DNS provisioning that what you have done. So you'll get to know immediately once you fill the SAP form. So once you fill the SAP form, ideally this entire process, once you fill the SAP form, click on submit. So this entire process usually takes a week or 5 business days to complete the SAP configuration from marketing cloud side. So the step number third is, once this is done, so SAP form can contact support, and what support does is, support is going to give you on SAP form. You enter the SAP form with all the detail. The form contains your domain name and your DNS entries, what you're given to security team and all. So once you enter domain, it automatically shows the validation step. Automatically, it will go on and talk to your company security, company domain details. Once it shows a green color icon, then you just click on submit. From here, you'll get to know whether your process of step number 2 failed or not. If you really set up the DNS entries correctly, a kind of a zone file correctly to your network security team, this will gives you the green color. If it gives you a red color or something, then you have to go back and then ask your network team that is something failed, and they need to check it out until it comes green, and then click on a submit. Then this process, usually Salesforce support team takes a week or 2 maximum. This one, the third step. Once this process has been done, now Now the SAP configuration by the Salesforce team is done. Then you can receive a confirmation email via case saying that they're good to configure the SAP, and then you can start using Marketing Cloud. You can go to the domains, and then you could set up your from address. You could set up your sender profiles and all the other activities, especially the from address management and the sender authentication management. That is how the current setup usually takes. If you ask me personally, on an average, the entire process, the whole process takes around 3 to 4 weeks. If you're really catching up them and then take care of all those things, even sometimes where they're if you escalate things and they'll do it in within 7 days, or maybe they'll do it in within 5 days as well. But essentially 3 to 4 weeks is a rough time where we should request all the customers to complete this setup. So that is essential part of our this is an essential part of our current SAP process, the current sender authentication process. So let me see if anyone has any questions before I go to the new process, and which makes our lives easier. Okay, no questions. Let's go back to the next process. So now this is what our current provisioning setup. Now let's go back to the announcement that what we would like to do now. This sender authentication package in the private domain, we can do our self-provisioning. We no need to reach out to Salesforce support. First thing, we no need to wait for 1-2 weeks for them to activate our domain. We no need to wait for their confirmations or anything as such. If you look at previously, the one which I've explained, the SAP and private domain configuration was the manual, all manual, the one which I've showcased, which support will take care, and which ideally delays the customer time to value, which turnaround takes up to 5 days for first priority customers, and the one which have take 2 to 3 weeks for the other Hyperforce customers. So if you look at the new UI that I'm going to showcase, which eventually improve a great self-provisioning process, and that has been released in Spring 25, which enables our customers and admins like me, where I can self-configure my domains within 3 days or less than 3 days ideally. So, or a maximum a day, which you can do it ourselves as well. We'll see how it really going to help us. We'll put a detail, especially what are the current capabilities and limitations if you're going to go with the self-provisioning process. So some of the supported features are, it's available in all the Marketing Cloud engagement docs, which include our advanced enterprise and the corporate, and it's currently available only for our normal Marketing Cloud instances, where some of the instances are currently with Hyperforce. Nothing but you got an email from different customers where you have to move your Marketing Cloud out to the Hyperforce, which you need to enable some SSLs and all the stuff, where whoever Marketing Cloud which is on Hyperforce, so it'll be on the roadmap. But for now, it's Marketing Cloud engagement is available for everyone where the customers are not on Hyperforce. And this helps us for authenticated email sending domain, which we can procure and do the configurations. And we could set up our own branded URLs. We could self-host it and delegate DNS configurations from our side. We could select the shared IP or new dedicated IP when you do the setup of the entire domain. And some of the unsupported features are, I'm not saying it's unsupported, but it is still true. You can raise a case. Let's give an example. You want to reuse a dedicated IP, nothing but this scenario I'm talking about. So this one, you already have a dedicated IP which are using by a different Marketing Cloud tool where you wanted to use the same IP. Then these kind of scenarios where you can go and then reach out to support to leverage the same IP from other marketing channel to our Marketing Cloud channel. The other area where they're especially putting a limitation is if you want to switch from your personal domain to SAP or vice versa, so you need to reach out to Salesforce support. And if you want to change the sending domain or branded URLs, and ideally you should go and then support to raise a case for Salesforce support. So that's pretty much some of the limitations. I'm not saying it's a limitation. Ideally, it is kind of you need to still go with the case. But the first one is still you can do it. I verified it, but I still I had a doubt, and then I just see the respective videos and everything. But I've seen it. I could still use the dedicated IP. I can use the dedicated IP from one BU to another BU, where in that process it's a bit difficult. But for one single BU, which you can do it yourself as well. So these are some of the capabilities and limitations which you can oversee it. but we could oversee and then route out to support team. But we wanted to understand a bit about how this entire process works. For me, the only problem is, so currently I have my own org where I can be able to, I can just see the navigation. So you can go to the admin. So in the setup itself, so you have an option called domain SSL certificates. So in the domain SSL certificates, where I don't have any SAPs, ideally you should buy SAP from, when you procure an org, it automatically comes with one SAP as a free. But if you're an enterprise customer, that you can buy SAP 2030 for your all business units. But ideally, it is not showing my SAPs here. If you have an SAPs enabled here, you have an option to click on new domain here, and you could see the provisioning process, how easy it is that you could do within a maximum of 5 minutes. I'll just showcase a video how it really works, especially from an SAP standpoint. I'll just play here. Just yeah, if you look at this, so you can go to the domain SSL certificates, and then the domains that the customer has configured. So you have 100 SAP domains available. Then you could use any one of them. You click on new domain, and then just enter your domain. I want to highlight one thing here. Yeah, I want to highlight one thing here. So this SAP process is pretty, this is exactly what Salesforce support does, but that has been removed and then moved to our side for self-provisioning. But the process is same. The one which I've told here, these two steps you still have to do it. This the first one, you need to ask the customer on what is the domain, and after that you need to do this setup. These two setups still you have to do it, because you just need to complement and marry with your internal network team to set up your domain and the DNS entries. That you have to do it for sure. The first two setups you still have to talk to your network team and then get the things done for you. After two setups, this is the something where Salesforce support is doing it, but going forward this is something that we are owning this process, right? So I'll just, yeah, so you can click on setup and then go to the domain SSL certificates, and then you'll be able to see the respective domains that you want to configure, and you can click on new domain. So here you'll have an option that you can enter the domain, and just enter the domain that what you wish to set up for you, and then you give your email address for any notifications, and it'll give you an option quickly, domain is available or not, or using by someone. So here you have an option where you could choose the I'll just take a pass. So if you look at here, so I have an option where I can give my domain and the respective email address, the people will reach out to me, and then the domain used for email authentication and URL branding. So there are two types of things. Whenever customer procure the org, by default Salesforce will give you the 4 SSL certificates as free. But for some customers where due to some issues where they have trouble not to activate the SSL certificates, so those times where you need to reach out to Salesforce support to enable the branding. SSL certificates are really important for your branding, because those 4 SSL certificates are click bounds and your open and open click bonds, and there's one more. So those 4 are the SSL certificates that we're talking about that are really part of your branding. So make sure you should enable those before you enable this domain as well. You have to check that one as well. I'm sure it's available by default, but make sure you need to check before you try to come to this stage. Okay, so once you've done this exercise, now you can go back. It'll give you, once you enter your domain, the system itself will give you an option your domain is available or not from the public facing. If your domain is available, it'll give you a green color, your domain is available, and you can go to the next step. If you look at right, the one which I've told previous process in the SAP form, when you enter the domain, it'll give you an information whether your domain is available or not. The same thing here, we are doing a self-provisioning process. Now, once the domain is available, it'll give an options. Yes. So what kind of sending IP address you are configuring? Are you configuring a new dedicated IP? Because is it something that's a new domain that you have never used for any other phases? Yes, it is a new dedicated IP. and I'm going to configure as a new IP for my marketing cloud org for the fresh Salesforce org, and I'm going to choose my new dedicated IP. Sorry. And here I can choose my new dedicated IP, and type of email send automatically chooses both commercial or transactional. Now we'll ask you, you have any reply mail management setup? You want to configure RMM? Yes. I want to configure RMM. Give the RMM address which you wanted to configure, forward at your domain.com, and you click on next. And then here it'll ask you, you want to delegate to Salesforce. Nothing but Salesforce manages all the delegated zone for you, or you want to self-host it with your own DNS hosting or something. Most of the times what we would request is to go do self-hosted, because every company wanted to host their own domains and everything, to manage their entire security and everything. So most of the times people use self-hosted, but you could choose whichever you're planning to do. If you're using a domain hosted by Salesforce, then it'll ask you a couple of details where just confirm and submit before you're going to do the checkings. So the domain, email address, the purpose, the DNS management, IP configurations, where you want to use this email communication, either commercial send or a transactional send, and reply mail management addresses, so on. So they'll ask you a couple of questions about acknowledge the configuration of DNS delegation management, and acknowledge IP configuration, acknowledge your domain, for example, meet the security standards, the DNS standards, and all the stuff. So once you've done it, so it'll ask you your details, and then we can give an options where we can choose the respective consent and the right consent, and then read through every instruction that what has been mentioned there, and then you can go and then just submit your provisioning process. So this is the one. So now you're ready. Now it'll ask you about, now you're ready to complete configuring your DNS settings. Assign the subdomains to marketing cloud engagement. Nothing but you can go and then take your subdomains, and you can give the subdomains. Either you create this first and then give the subdomains, or else I always wish everyone to delegate the subdomains to the respective security team. But now if you look at currently, when you created this domain, it's pending with the DNS verification. Now you can go back and then check with your security network administrator, where they can go and then add this entries into the network team. And once you've done it, so it automatically go and then activate your domain. So once that operation is done, it automatically shows active in next 24 to 48 hours. Then you could start using your sending domains as well. So this is how the self-provisioning works. So you don't need to reach out to Salesforce support. Once you've done this step, you can go and then configure your DNS entries, or before you can do the DNS entries, either one, it will help you, and then you can complete your setup. So that's a new self-provisioning process, which you eliminate most of the times. If you could ask me, from 3 to 4 weeks, it's going to be down to at least less than 3 days, or a maximum 2 days or one day, based on your network team availability. You could pull all of them into one call, and then you could set up everything into one shot. Within 24 hours, your domain will be active and up and running. So that's how it helps us for making our lives easier, because this process typically take a longer time because of to and fro communications and the activations, different team sets in different places. But if you can bring all together into one within 30 minutes, you'd be able to complete these process. So that's how this the game changing self provisioning process comes into the picture, where we will happily go and then do ourselves. And that's all. This session, a small session, but really solid session that everyone need to understand how it really works from a domain standpoint. And I'll take a couple of questions, and then I can see if anyone has any questions before I can jump into the next slides. Yep. Kabir, number one, yes. So the great thing about number one is you don't need to do the IP warming, because you already have done, your IP is already warmed up for other marketing tool, and you don't need to perform the IP warming. So number two is how do we know SCP versus private domain under this new provisioning? So here the great thing about this new provisioning is, so there is an option that has been given specially, that you wanted to go with the a self-hosted domain, or you wanted to go with your own private domain. You can just click on the second option, will it give you the option under the private domain where you can go and then provision as well. Yep. We can have only one SAP configured for one marketing cloud account, or can have multiple. No, you can have multiple SAPs, Antara. For every, let's consider that you have 20 business units, you can create 20 SAPs. But for one business unit, you have to go with maximum one SAP. But typically, if you ask me, the always the best practice which comes with ideally, if you ask me, uh, purchasing 2 3 4 domains, but always you can go and buy and you can provision, but the only problem is you need to set up your sender profiles and everything. Make sure while you're sending an emails, you should change always the sender profiles and everything. Any other questions? Yes. So by default, Marketing Cloud will give you one SAP free when you procure a new Marketing Cloud org. On top of which, if you want to procure more SAPs based on the customer's need, let's take an example: one Marketing Cloud org where you're managing 2 brands, and each brand comes with their own branding and everything. Then you should buy 2 SAPs. One which is comes with the free, the other one you need to reach out to support team to activate one more SAP. Yep, you have to purchase separately. Any questions? So if no questions, I will let me see if anyone has any questions. Yeah, if no questions, I can go and then complete the rest of the slides. Yeah, so our next event, which is on March 20th, we're going to talk about the Marketing Cloud Spring 25 release updates. There are some top releases happening, some other features which is happening on this release, which is really good, where we're going to talk about those Marketing Cloud Spring 25 highlights. And we're planning in the next phase, we are planning phase ideally, which is an agent force learning series, which include admin, dev, and integrations, especially which include data cloud rags and everything. We are having a great demos already has been set it up for you guys, which talks about and then have some hands-on learning practice for different industries altogether. So it's a series for the next 4 or 5 months, but we're just waiting for the new release comes and then take some more advanced topics from agent force from a different standpoint, especially the marketing and the data cloud. And we would like to start with this series soon. Just join the sessions and then you could be able to learn many things, especially on this area. Yeah, just wait for our updates. Yeah. So any Q&A, I can help you to help you out, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter, which I can happy to help you out. And thank you for joining. And I'm sure this is your busy time, and thank you for putting your lot of energy and interest towards to learn something new. And you could go on and start provisioning your self process on this SAP, and you'll be learn something good as well. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining together, and a very happy evening and good night. Thank you.